Greetings, magical mages and spiritual sages, and all listeners. Welcome to Age of the Mage. This is episode 26. In our last episode, 25, we talked about how powerful you are. And one of the reasons I know this is because we carry this energy field around with us. And I know from personal experience how much power lies in that energy field, and how much we can access that we don't usually take advantage of and we don't usually use. And I know there are other sources of power. We're going to be talking about each one of those. But for today, I'd like to continue just a little bit um, and expand on some ideas regarding this etheric field that surrounds you and that you can reach into at any time to access different types of power. We discussed how our physical body may be powerful and strong, or it may be limited. And this other type of power, the one that you reach through magic and spirit and soul, is not limited. It is only limited if we impose limitations, or if we disregard it or don't use it, or even don't believe that it's there for our use. Those are the only types of limitations that this field has. And also maybe getting to know it, getting to use it. We do need some knowledge about how it works in order to maximize the abilities and the many, many things that can come to us from using this field. So what I'd like to do today is just a couple little ideas, just playful ideas that we could do to start to get a little more familiar and bond a little better to this field that's surrounding us, and just offer a few little exercises that we could do. We all want magic to appear in our daily lives, don't we? And again, magic could mean spirit, it could mean connection to the soul, it could mean connection to the source, it could mean a series of synchronistic events, it could mean a manifestation that you have visualized and been working on, but we want to be in touch with something magical. This is what feeds our soul at the very deepest level. This is what excites us and makes us want to go into the next day and the next. When we can feel that we are somehow connecting with the deepest parts of ourselves and of our world and with others. We like the feeling too that we're connecting with others through those spaces, through these ethereal channels. This also feeds us because we tend to like community. Some of us are a little more reticent to join large social groups and things like that, but most of us do thrive and do better when we have, at the very least, a close circle of friends or a few loved ones and people that we feel we are reaching, and they're reaching us and they understand us. This can be accomplished with extra dimensional beings as well, and interdimensionals. And it can be accomplished that we feel a connection to a divine source of resources. And this helps because not only do we have this drive to improve ourselves and fulfill our destinies and walk a path that excites us and rejuvenates us, but we also long for this sense of community and this sense of love and an exchange from other living sentient beings. So these two things together, they really nourish us at the soul level, at the spirit level. And that can filter down and even heal us in physical ways and emotional ways when we are in touch with such powerful connections. And so we want this in our lives every day. And I don't know about you, but for me, this comes and goes. For me, I've never been able to maintain a cycle, that just goes on indefinitely, where I feel like, oh, wow, I'm walking in a magical zone and I'm just having one synchronicity happen after another. And oh my goodness, I just manifested that. And within the 24 hours, and, I've had these in spurts, in kind of cycles, or for short periods of time. And then they'll kind of fade away. And then I'll realize a few days or weeks later, wow, what's wrong? It doesn't feel very magical in the world anymore, does it? And then I will realize, oh, I left that zone. I can't tell you when it happened. I don't know why it happened, but oops, and I want to get back there. And so we all have this. It's got, roller coaster type of ups and downs with regards to all of life. But it also happens with our magical life and our spiritual experiences and our paranormal experiences. So sometimes we need some downtimes, and that's all right. But if we would like to feel like we're in touch or we're accessing something spiritual, something magical every single day, there's a way to do that. I've been experimenting and it works. It's working. So I'd like to share a few ideas with you. And one of these ways is to get to know this field better, to play in the field. So that's what we're going to talk about today is playing in this field that surrounds us. One thing that might work to make this field feel more alive and feel more real and feel more connected to you is to take a few moments and let your imagination wander into the field. You can do this just listening to this podcast. You can, even if you're driving, you could just follow along with the words and ideas, and some ideas and flashes might come to you. But I suggest too later on, maybe before sleep or something, where you can really truly relax and close your eyes, to do a little bit of your own visualization work and see where this goes for you, because that is really going to open up some doors and some pathways to you that will allow, I believe, this field to become more accessible. And once that happens, then we can do more with the energies ready and willing to help us that are circulating in this field. So let's just take a minute and kind of mentally think about this field. Kind of propel yourself into that field. See yourself say, oh, okay, I have all this energy surrounding me. And just ask yourself, what does it look like to you? We are all going to come up with different ideas. We're individuals, and our fields represent and are very closely associated with our soul's purpose and with our true divine gifts. And so the representation of this field is going to feel different to all of us. But just take a moment and say, hey, oh, I see it as a bunch of little sparkling lights. There's so much energy and it's kind of electric. I feel this kind of electric, almost like little zigzags of lightning and lights twinkling in and out. Or are you someone that sees it as a grid? Oh, I got if I just allow myself to visualize it, if I just give it a moment and let myself go there in my imagination. Don't discredit that imagination. Pretty powerful stuff there. We'll get to that in more detail too in a future podcast. But just let your imagination wander into that field. Does it have a color? Does it have a thickness, like a density? Does it feel like you kind of swim into it, like a fluid? Does it have any sounds there? Is there a flavor? Like kind of the combination of a smell and a taste, or something that reminds you of something. When we smell things in the real world, very often that will trigger memories for us. Does this field, when you imagine yourself merging into it or looking into it, touching it, reaching it, does this remind you of anything? Does a memory come up for you? Does a feeling get triggered if you allow yourself to take a moment and go into this field? Are certain feelings coming up for you? All right, so that's the kind of thing to play with. When you have more time, let your imagination go there. And take some notes. Like I'm so big on this journaling, and we are going to walk through a journaling process together at a future time as well. But at the very least, just take some keyword notes. Just get anything, a little spiral binder. Nothing doesn't have to be anything fancy at this point. But you're going to build up a habit of recording these little magical moments you have. This will come back to you, and because you're writing it down, because you're recording it, they actually lends these events some power, and we're going to talk about that too, of course. All right, so kind of play with this, see what occurs to you. All right, another exercise you can do regarding this field is, if you reach out with your hand and you feel something, You know, those games you might play where you have to close your eyes and feel something and then try to describe it. And of course, we're always completely wrong because we don't always know what we're feeling with our eyes shut. Well, that's what you're going to do with this field. You're going to extend your astral arm or your etheric arm, a method of touch, a method to reach out there. Reach into the field in your mind's eye. And again, using your imagination. Imagine or visualize your hand reaching into this field. What do you feel? How deep is it? Like, would you have to walk a few steps to reach the outer barrier? What is your hand? What are your outstretched arms? If they were outstretched fully, raised at your sides and feeling inside this bubble, this sphere of energy, do they touch the sides? Or are you sensing that it's larger? How large do you feel like it is? You know, see your whole body, see your feet, see yourself walking into the field. Start with the reach and the touch and extend that to letting your imagination imagine you walking into it. Somehow you leave your physical body just for a moment, and your astral body or emotional, that very next body out from you, just enters into this field. And it can see it now because it's on the same plane, it's on the same frequency, and now there's things you can see and feel and touch. And what are those things? Is it kind of dark and just misty and you don't see much, don't feel much? Is it cool? Is it warm? Or is it full of light? Does it actually look like a scene? Is it a grove of trees? Is it sand at the beach? Do you feel that you're standing on something, or are you floating? So in other words, this part allows your imagination to let parts of yourself that really truly exist begin to experiment with going into the field. This is important because this etheric field that's right around you, always connected to you, is where you're going to work your magic. The communication from your physical plane that you send into this etheric field is exactly the first steps that you'll take to manifesting anything, whether that be change, alchemy, improvements in your life, or actual physical items. This is where it happens, is your ability to bring your physical self into this field. So this practice of letting your representation of yourself go there is going to end up being a very, very good and strong foundation for you. I know many of you do this already, so this is kind of serving as a reminder that if we would take just a few minutes every day to do this, we will strengthen this bond. We will establish a consciousness that's connected to the field. It won't stay in the background. It will not stay in our subconscious mind because, of course, we know it's there. At deep levels, our soul knows, our spirit knows, the parts of our consciousness that aren't always on the surface. These parts all know it exists and it's there. It's no surprise to these parts of us. So what we're trying to do is bring it into the conscious parts of us, the mental, and the emotional. We want to establish emotional connections here that we know actually link to our current body, our current container, our current incarnation. And for any of you that might be suffering from a health restraint or a handicap of any sort, you can access this field, and you can the body that goes into this field is healed and perfect, and can be your liaison between a physical body that may not be up to par in this particular lifetime and your perfection that exists beyond the body. So all people can do this. Everyone can do this. And doing it daily doing it a few times a day, just a moment at a time, really, will transform you in ways you can't even imagine. It will start your magical journey. It will, and if you're already on a magical journey and you're already practicing, this will enhance all of your work. But I think one of the most fun things that comes from doing these exercises every day is that you can propel yourself into the magic zone. And it, like I said at the beginning, that really feeds us. That really helps us. That gives us drive. That gives us happiness. And by doing this exercise a few times a day, just when it comes to you or think about it, you'll start bumping yourself into that zone of synchronicity and magic and openness and inspiration. You may open up a whole portal to a being that you're connected to that wants to give you messages from other realms. These are the kinds of things that will come into your life as a result of kind of honoring and connecting with this zone around you. Now, for one final idea that you can experiment with, and that is on the level of manifestation with regards to this space. So don't get discouraged if things don't immediately manifest or it doesn't work for a while, because it will. I promise you it will. There's just something not fully connecting maybe with your early tries or attempts, or something vibrationally isn't aligned with you that may be postponing a manifestation. But what I would suggest is starting with things that are very, very simple, because this is not about not a big visualization or a big exercise when I need more money and I'm going to do things for 7 days, or I'm going to listen to affirmations or whatever for a month. I'm going to retrain my ideas about money. This is not an exercise that's equivalent to that. This is a small step. This is just another getting to know you introduction that you can work to strengthen your abilities working with this field. So it shouldn't be anything that big. It should be small things, because you don't want to sabotage yourself by blocking this connection. You want this connection to open up. So you want to give it all the chance you can. So the idea here is to imagine something as detailed as you can, like an apple, like a coin, like a quarter, for example, or something like a pretty bird that you like if you like to see robins or you like to see blue jays, something that brings you some joy, that might cross your path, something realistic here that you might see or find, a feather, a seashell. All right, sorry, we have a dog that's going to bark, I think, for a minute here. Anyway, so we get an image and something very specific. And close your eyes for this one and place that item in the field through your imagination, through the detailed imagery that you have that is composing this item in your brain. So it needs to be something you're familiar enough with to enliven with as much detail as possible. You close your eyes and you place this object in that space. Just put it in there and say, I know I'll find you. I know I'll be seeing you soon. Very lighthearted. This is not a heavy duty spell. You don't have to place a lot of expectations on it. It's simply a method to start discovering what works for you and what doesn't. So if it doesn't work for you, perfect. We're going to explore something else that might. But if it does, wonderful. Another step forward, another type of connection you've established with the field. And once you've placed this object into your field, just release it, be happy, go on about your business. It's okay. And see if that object crosses your path. Don't discount it. If you reach in later that day and take an apple out of your own refrigerator, it came into your path, didn't it? It doesn't have to drop out of a tree in some mystical, magical, supernatural way. Just be aware. Oh, that's right. I'm getting an apple that crossed my path. That's right. If you normally have blue jays outside, that's fine. It doesn't have to be something that's out of the ordinary. But if you walk outside that day and you get to see one, it crossed your path, didn't it? All right, so these are just stepping stones, but they're more powerful than you might think at first because this starts establishing a relationship with the part of you that's going to work magic, with the part of you that's going to access the power waiting for you in that field. So that's what these exercises are for. Simple steps, playing in your field, and learning and getting farther along the path of magical manifestation. That's where we'll close for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm looking forward to continuing down on these magical pathways with you and exploring all the many ways that we can access our true power and find our true joy. So I wish you all the very best, and I wish you lots of fun with this and success and observation and the things that you need to take from it so that you can keep progressing and keep enjoying your everyday life by bringing magical moments into it. I'll return shortly. Bye for now.